In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
Hello. It's another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with yours truly, Bryce D. Nyer, coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. Well, we've got an interesting topic tonight. We're going to have a little bit of levity here. We're going to talk about where the past meets the present. So we're going to date this because we've just come off the 2024 presidential election. Everybody's still wired up, hyped up, and oh man, I got to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad it's that portion of it's done. But during that whole process, leading up to the election and then now post-election, it caused me to kind of, reminisce, maybe think about things, because so often we compare the past to where we are now. And some people have a problem with that and say we shouldn't live in the past, shouldn't look to the past. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to disagree with that. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to disagree with it. Because as I sat there and thought, all week long, leading up to the election and then now the post-election and then where we're headed over the next couple of years, regardless of which side you're on, I started to play some music from when I was in high school. And the particular group was Loggins and Messina. And if you don't know who Loggins and Messina were, Kenny Loggins recorded one of the cover hits for Top Gun 1, of course, with Tom Cruise. And then they used that song again in Top Gun 2 Maverick, which was released in 2022. And just two great movies. So as I was listening to some of the songs from Loggins and Messina, it kind of took me back. And I compared it to where we are today as we're heading into 2025. And I have to tell you, the AI and technology to me, I don't know. I'm not enamored by it. I'm just not. Because I started thinking back to when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, when I was in college. And I just think about, for example, when I was in high school and being able to sit around the dinner table, either before I went to work or especially on the weekends with my family and just have dinner. And most of the time, if I was not already at work, we would all have dinner together almost every night. And then on the weekends that when I got off work or with family, we would watch certain shows together. My sisters and brothers-in-law would come over, and every weekend we would go to the beach. Now, I grew up in Clearwater, Florida, West Coast. We would typically go to Indian Rocks Beach, which was a couple miles, maybe 10, 12 miles from Clearwater Beach. And typically would go there at least, every Sunday. And it was just great to have the family there. And I thought about, we didn't have cell phones back then. We could not text. We would, pick up a phone and either dial or push button, depending on which kind of phone you had, and have real conversations. And I thought about, when we used to go to parties, we didn't have GPS. We would stop at a 7-Eleven and be like, hey man, where in the hell is this party? I mean, we're trying to find this address, and they'd give like directions like, well, there's a laundromat here. And then, just the seventh palm tree. And I remember I'd be like, dude, this is Florida. There's palm trees all up and down this highway. Where do we start counting? And it would just be funny. And the biggest thing, the biggest crime really people committed during those days was like we would go into bars underage with fake IDs. And most time, we'd get into the nightclubs and the discos to go dancing. Nothing nefarious, nothing at all. And we most certainly did not have law enforcement officers in our school. Not at that time. It's not like today where there's a law enforcement officer just about in every school, maybe one or two. I don't know. It's just changed. And the technology today with cell phones, smart devices, all Zoom and all this stuff, you think it would bring people closer, but I don't think it does. I just think it's just an impersonal way to interact and communicate to where you can hide behind a phone or a smart device. And it just doesn't have the same appeal. It doesn't have the same effect. Just like music. I mean, music back when I was growing up in high school and in college, you didn't really have all this auto-tune and all this crap. I mean, the artists of those days, they went in there and they just recorded raw. And when they went on a stage and went on a show, they sang live. I mean, you started to have some that would just start doing lip syncing on some of the shows, like American Bandstand and stuff like that. They'd bring the artists on and they'd play the hit over their intercom system, and you could tell they were lip syncing. But the past, you can really learn a lot. And what about my past is just it was a lot simpler. I mean, life's always been complicated. But it was just simpler, especially like when we had cars, when we had muscle cars like the Mustang, the real Mustangs, the real Camaros, the real GTOs, the real Grand Torinos. I mean, they were real cars. I mean, just tune them up with spark plugs, a gap, an oil filter, air filter, that sort of thing. And you didn't have all this fancy electronic crap that just seems to break down and then you can't get supplies in the supply chain. And then your car just sits there. And these EVs that seem to light on fire at every instance, I don't know. I'm not really convinced those things are real great at all. And I started thinking, I just started thinking, let this sift through all week, and especially with the legal profession, i.e. the legal matrix. And I can remember growing up, meeting quite a few lawyers and the process. And of course, they didn't have all the computers, and they had typewriters, then eventually had electric typewriters. And I guess it made it easier, and then the whiteout and all that kind of stuff. But there was more of a camaraderie. There was more of a profession than where we are today. Today, it's just a Roman Coliseum, and who can use the AI the fastest, and then too many people rely on AI, and they're not using their brain. They're not engaging their brain. And they're not making things simpler. They're actually making it more complicated. And what happens is you start to substitute everything artificial for reality. It's kind of like, when I order a sweet tea. So I live in North Carolina, and in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, if you order a sweet tea, it's going to be real sweet tea. Now, they have a lot of sugar in it. I'm not saying lots of sugar is good for you, okay? I love sweet tea. So one year, this is an example about, we talk about artificial. I was cruising down through Florida. I was in Orlando, and I pulled into McDonald's. I ordered a sweet tea. They looked at me like I was stoned. So they gave me this tea, and then they gave me these yellow or pink packets of substitute, artificial sweetener, whatever the hell it was. And I just looked at it, and I'm like, do you guys not have real sweet tea here? And of course, then I realized, well, kind of northern Florida is part of the Confederacy. Central Florida is like transplanted Yankee, and southern Florida is the Latino population. So, it just brought back that everything just seems to be so artificial today. I mean, pictures and photos with filters, and again, the auto-tune with singers, and, in movies, all this, artificial graphics, special effects, and I don't know. I just have been thinking about this every day this week. And same thing about relationships. everybody's too busy being superficial instead of being real. I mean, it's just superficial. Game playing in the dating game, and it's just ridiculous. And so as I began to continue to listen to a lot of the hits from long ago, I mean, it just brought me back to thinking about, really how simple things were, and that, technology can be a great thing, but it can also be a detrimental thing. And it became no more evident to me than after this election, this post-election time, of just really sitting down and saying, what is really important to me? What is really important to Americans that I hear them say? And I think it's the better question that you have to ask. What is really important to you in relationships? So when we talk about these things, a body, a being, a balance, and a business, I mean, what is it you're really looking for? What is it you really want? Because as I was sitting down today and I was typing out some things here at my office and looking at different software programs for our marketing, I just looked at it with kind of disgust, because it just feels so fake. And what I really want in my life and what I really would like to see in this world is just real, authentic people, real, authentic feelings, real, authentic interaction. I don't want any more AI in my life. I don't want anything artificial in the domains of body, being, balance, and business. I don't want anything artificial. I want real feelings. I want real human beings around me. I want real thoughts. I want people that come up with original ideas when they write, when they construct music, compose it, sing it. I just don't want auto-tuned life anymore. I don't. I want a mixture of where the simplicity of the past is combined with the present with a dose of reality, a dose of being real. And when I sit here in this place, and I've been in this organization called Wake Up Warrior since 2018, that was founded by Garrett J. White, one of the things they talk about is being real, raw, and relevant. And I never at first understood that when I first joined up with Wake Up Warrior, but now, years later, I really do understand it. And recently, when I was in Dana Point, California, and was with our podcast producer, Bryce Prescott, we're there for almost a week and just had great discussions, talked about, the body, being, balance, and business. And out of those conversations, to me, it came down to just feeling real and authentic. And when he and I would, after my business meetings and his business stuff, we would go to dinner and we went to the beach and we would just sit there and look at the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. And when we would go to dinner, just kind of observe everybody and everything. And I felt real and I felt authentic. I did. And then I get back here, back in the mainstream of the legal matrix, back in the court and the office and everything, and doing all this marketing and stuff. And it's just every offer that comes in from social media, whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok or, whatever it is, of all these offers of these new software programs, everything to market and everything. And I just look at it and it just doesn't sit well with me, because the past of who I am and what I am is still this man, this guy, this kid, of the simple things in life where it's real, where when you hold the hand of your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it's real. It's not artificial. When you really are in love with somebody and you tell them that and you feel it and you connect, it's not artificial, it's real. When you do something for somebody else, not because you want something in return, but because you want to be giving, that's something that is real. So I would just point out to you law students, as you're in this curriculum of your law school years, that you don't get caught up in everything artificial, that you don't get caught up in this AI world, that if you look backwards a little bit and look to the past, there are things and people from whom you can learn quite a bit that is and are applicable today. And there's no better example of this than when you look at people who buy antiques, like antique cars, antique things. And why? Because there's just something real about some of those antiques. When I sit there and I watch a lot of the people that buy antique cars, like the antique Mustangs, the antique Corvettes, it's because when they were built solid. They were built with emotion. They were built with heart. And they were dependable. They weren't just thrown together. There was nothing artificial about the process of the production of what was made. Nothing. And in these type of vehicles or these type of antiques, hundreds of years or decades later are still standing because their foundation of how they were built, it was just solid. And for you law students entering into this legal matrix, this war zone, you have to be solid too. So you will need to look back to the past. Look to the past. Look at past historical figures. Look at in the past about businesses and these domains of body being balanced in business. Because those foundations that were built set forth the catalyst of a lot of great things that we have today. For example, our U.S. Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, that many people take for granted. But when you really think about it, in the past, in the 18th century, sitting down with pen and ink, no electrical lights, none of that, in the candlelight or in the daylight when it was extremely hot, and writing those documents longhand and then taking them to printing presses. And hundreds of years later, those documents that were created in the past are even more relevant today. So when people tell you to don't look back and forget the past, I say, no, remember the past, look to the past, and those things that you can bring to the present that propel you to be the best version of who you can be in these domains of body, of being a balance in business, then bring them forward and apply them. So I want to have a little bit of reflection because this is where the past meets the present. And somewhere out there, there's some person or something from the past that you can pull into the present that will make you just one of the elite, one of the best in every single thing that you do. So ask the better question. Where in your past or where in the past can you reach back to and pull it forward to the present that will propel you in these domains of body being balanced in business? Okay, this is Bryce D. Nyer. It's been another great episode with you all. I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. So again, love and light. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where every day men and women don the uniform and where their past has shaped their future as the warriors that we have to guarantee the freedoms that we have. This is Bryce out.